Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is a special one because we're going to be talking about the differences between short readings and full readings, the benefits of full readings. I have given many sample readings and free short readings on previous broadcasts, so check them out if you're interested. And this broadcast, we're going to be talking more about the differences in full readings and what is expected in that kind of experience. Now, to give some time for some viewers to join us, I'm just going to take a little moment to talk about what's new at Stafford Tarot, and we'll just quickly highlight some of the upcoming events that are to look forward to. First of all, I think I fixed the annoying humming sound in the previous broadcast, so I do apologize for that. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty with the mic. I was picking up a really horrible humming sound. It makes me really hard to hear, so I'm really hoping that that isn't being picked up this time. If anyone could just give me a shout out and let me know if you hear me okay, if I'm clear, or if you actually hear that humming noise, I'd really appreciate that feedback. Hello, I do see some people joining already. Thank you so much. Some other things that are new with Stafford Tarot, just to give a little bit more time for some viewers to join, is I'm always updating the website, and the website now has sections where you can learn about the decks that I use. Both the tarot decks and the oracle decks that I use are all featured on my website. You can also read the blog, which features helpful tips and suggestions regarding reading tarot. And you can always watch the previously recorded Tarot Talk topics and live broadcasts. All of that's available on the website. And I've now included a new section called Learn to Do Tarot for Yourself. So this is a new section on the website that includes helpful links to helpful information that's already available on staffordtarot.com. It just kind of directs you in the right direction to find it more easier. And so there's information pages, blog entries, videos, and lessons all provided on my website to help you learn to do tarot readings for yourself. So if you're interested, check that out, www.staffordtarot.com, and just scroll down and look for the Learn to Do Tarot Readings for Yourself link. Now, some of the upcoming events that I'm really excited about with Stafford Tarot is on Monday, May 15th, we're going to have another free draw. I do these draws monthly. It's a 1 in 5 chance of winning. So what that means is if I get 1 to 5 participants, I choose one winner. If I get 5 to 10 participants, I choose 2 winners. If I get between 10 and 15 participants, I choose 3, etc. And I do that keeping the ratio 1 to 5. I do that so that there are multiple winners depending on how many people get involved in each draw. And it just to raise the chances for you to receive a free reading. The free readings that are won in the draw happen through a Zoom chat. And so you get the one-on-one interactions and chance to ask questions right during the reading itself. And then on leading up to Friday, May 19th. May 19th will be when the new moon is happening. And so leading up to that, I will have the new moon oracle card pull available on my website, and I do release it on my social media as well. So check it out. I will be attending some festivals coming up at the end of May and early June. The Mystical Witches Market in Fergus, Ontario on Saturday, May 27th. Is going to be from 4 to 10 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. And that's hosted by Luna Events Canada. They do an excellent job arranging these markets. I'm really excited to be involved in that. I will be offering free 1-card impression pulls to anyone who visits me at my table and says hello while I'm between private sessions. And then I will also be at the Mystical Market in Mississauga, Ontario, which is happening for 2 full days on Friday, June 2nd from 5 to 10 p.m. And then also the next day on Saturday, June 3rd from 10 to 5 p.m. So check it out. That's going to be hosted by a collaboration between Luna Events Canada and the Bread and Honey Festival. It's going to be a really great event. There's going to be so much more to get involved in. So check it out. All the information's on my website. If you need to know the address and location and times, just check it out, www.staffordtarot.com. And then leading up to Sunday, June 4th, which is when the next full moon is happening, I will be doing a full moon oracle card pull released leading up to that date. So just watch the website and you'll be kept up to date on those card pulls if you're interested. I have received a lot of really great feedback from people saying how helpful those full moon and new moon card pulls are. So I'm really glad to hear that that's appreciated. And then my next Tarot Talk live event is going to happen Tuesday, June 13th. It usually starts around 8 p.m., similar to tonight. That's Eastern Standard Time for those of you who are online or international. On that Tarot Talk, the Tarot Talk topic is going to be on birthday and anniversary readings. Quite often when I'm at events or festivals or when I'm just giving readings, someone will mention that it's their birthday or they're having an anniversary, in which case I always offer a free birthday reading. And what you get during a free birthday reading, we'll discuss that on the next Tarot Talk because that's our topic. And so that's coming up. But today's Tarot topic is on full readings and the differences between full readings and short readings. And so I'm going to get into that topic in a moment. But first, I just want to mention that in these live broadcast events, I always offer free readings leading up like later on in the broadcast. So today is a little different because we're doing the Tarot Talk topic on full readings. I've decided to offer 2 full readings to anyone who's interested in the chat. You simply just have to say you're interested in a reading and I will add you to the list. And then when we start doing those readings, I will go through the order of the list. Now, I am only offering 2 free readings on this broadcast. So anyone else who's interested, maybe you wrote that you were interested and you weren't the first 2 that came up, or you were interested to receive a reading tonight but didn't, I will automatically include you in my draw that's coming up on Monday so that you still have a chance to win a free reading. Now, the reading that you get in the draw is actually a one-on-one Zoom reading, so there's much more interaction than the broadcasted live remote distant remote event here. I hope that just want to wish everybody good luck on that draw, and anyone who's interested to receive a reading tonight, just let me know in the chat. Just write interested to receive a reading and I will include you. Now I'm just looking through. Thank you, Maria Lane, for confirming that you can hear me and I'm all clear. That I'm very excited about that. I fixed that problem. Now, I'm just reading some of the messages that are coming up here. So just let me know if anyone's interested. Just write that word interested in the chat and then I'll know to add you to the list. Now, in previous broadcasts, I should mention, and I do mention this in most of the broadcasts, that in previous broadcasts, there have been delays in the way that the messages appear on the screen for me while I'm recording and expecting responses from viewers. Sometimes those messages don't come up right away, and I've been told that previously some of the messages don't even come up at all. So if that happens at any time, please reach out to me or contact me. Let me know. I'm more than happy to make up for it in some way or another. Or if you were hoping to get a free reading and you said you were interested and that message didn't pop up, let me know and we'll work that out. I try to be very fair. I try to be very reasonable. It's just the technology that we're working with. Sometimes there's glitches and mishaps that take place. And so we just have to try and have patience. I know it works on my patience sometimes, but we get through it. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to get started on this Tarot Talk event. And so, full readings. So when I've done these Tarot Talk events, I always offer short readings. And the difference between short readings and full readings is basically the time frame or the time limit that is given for the reading. And I am aware, based on my experience of doing tarot readings, which spreads I can fit in a short reading for 15 minutes and which spreads I can do that are more elaborate within a half an hour reading. And I get the information really quick. Messages come to me really fast in tarot readings. And so that's why I'm able to do a full reading within a half an hour. Many tarot readers will take more time to do the full reading, to analyze the information. And they'll sometimes take a full hour to do that analytical reading of the cards. And so I just get through the messages quite quick. And so I offer shorter full readings within a half an hour, and I don't mind, because I get through the messages quite fast and sometimes I can give a lot of information in a short amount of time. I quite often am recorded. I don't mind that. A lot of times there's a recording device placed on the table in front of me while I'm giving the reading, and then it can be reviewed back later for the person who I was giving the reading for. I find it helpful that way. I find it more reasonable in terms of the fee to receive a tarot reading. You're paying $50 for a full reading for my time for that half hour, as opposed to $100 for the hour that we take just more time going through that details. Now, the way that I feel that it's important to mention as well, that the way that I charge for readings is the amount of time it takes me to read the cards. That amount of time that's charged does not include the conversation that happens before or after. So for example, if you book a personal private tarot reading with me over Zoom or in person, either at my home or at a location of your choice, if you have questions beforehand, the reading hasn't started yet. So if you have questions about me beforehand, I'm not charging for that time period because you have questions. I'm only charging for when I start to charge the deck, when I start to shuffle, when I start to draw out cards and I'm reading your tarots. When the tarot reading is finished and I've come to the conclusion, I ask you if there's any questions. Then a conversation might start up about the scenario or the situation we're talking about or the messages that's appearing in the cards. Again, because I'm no longer reading the messages, I don't charge for that extra time. So a half an hour reading with me you may actually sit with me for 45 minutes or so going over that tarot reading, because the tarot reading was a half an hour spread that I knew I could fit in. So it would still be $50 for the half an hour, even though we spent a little bit more time talking. I just think that that's reasonable. I am not a life coach. I don't proclaim to be a counselor. I'm not a therapist. And so what I see me giving service to is being the interpreter to the cards, not the opinions and feedback that may come from the impressions of the cards. I'm really giving you the direct messages from the cards themselves. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just reading the messages that are popping up here. Hi, Maria Lynn. I do actually offer mediumship readings. If you look at a previous Tarot Talk broadcast, you may be interested to see the mediumship tarot topic that I did about using mediumship in cards, or reading cards to do mediumship. I'm not doing mediumship during tonight's sessions, unfortunately, but feel free to reach out to me aside from this broadcast, Mary Lynn. I'd be happy to go over that with you, or if you want to get involved in the draw, I could offer you the mediumship reading as opposed to the tarot reading, so that would be up to you. So I'm going to just write those two names down. I did see that Given Ramsey requested a reading, and Mary Lynn Hetch also requested a reading. Now, Mary Lynn, if you would like to receive the full tarot reading tonight, or if you'd like to reach out to me about that mediumship reading, you may be more interested in the mediumship reading than the full reading tonight. So let me know about that. And I've just wrote that down. Thank you so much. And if anyone else is interested to receive a reading tonight, I have the two people that I'm going to give readings for the full readings tonight. So anyone else who's interested, just let me know and I will add you to the draw that's coming up on Monday. So if you see me writing any names down on my piece of paper and pen here, it just means that I've seen some interest and I'm including that in the draw. If I will be going through the messages after the broadcast has been posted. When the broadcast is finished, this does get posted to my website and to my Facebook and some of my social media. So I will be watching and re-watching the comments that have come up to make sure that I haven't missed any, because I can sort of see when they come up after I've watched it the second time. So I'm going to be looking for anyone who requested readings but didn't get on the screen, and I will automatically include those people in the draw as well. So in terms of the short readings, just to give a comparison to short readings versus full readings, when I do short readings, it's usually a general reading. You can give me a topic or question to focus on, but I'm using the cards generally, even focusing on that topic and question. What that means is that there's no layout or spread usually used within short readings. It's just 3 cards. Normally it's just 3 cards placed on the table in regards to the topic or question that's been asked, and I read the cards based on how they speak from each other. Sometimes the cards will have messages separately in each card. Sometimes the cards will speak with each other. So 2 cards could mean one message as they speak together. In a full reading, I'm focusing on an actual layout or spread. So every card that gets placed on the table has a very specific position that helps me understand the meaning even further. So for example, a very popular standard tarot spread that is used by most tarot readers is called the Celtic Crooks spread. And it basically looks at, it's 10 plus cards that are laid out on the table in the shape of a Celtic Crooks design. So the first card that comes down is like the subject of the reading. The second card is what works against the subject on the reading. The third card is what grounds the person in the reading. Then the next card is what from the past is involving this reading. Then the next 2 cards are future prediction cards of what may come to be and what will come to be. And quite often looking at the comparison of those 2 cards can help recognize decisions that need to be made or possibilities to come. And then we look at external influences in regards to the reading. So some of the fears that my sitter or my client may have, the influences around them from family and loved ones and friends, or the opinions of others around them, and then their hopes of what they hope out of this reading. And then I do a final conclusion. Now, the final conclusion in my readings are usually done as a path. So what that means is I will draw out cards until I reach a higher arcana card in this particular spread. And so if a whole bunch of cards come out, it just means that we're going to look at that as a path, the journey that has been taken during the subject of this reading. And based on the cards and messages that come out, my client can then pinpoint what section of that path they feel they're on. And quite often that can be helpful in terms of analyzing what we've already been through in the experience and how that's affected us, and what is still to come and what we have to lead towards and what to prepare for. And that can be helpful in terms of making decisions, looking at forecasts, or just making outcomes, deciding on outcomes, I mean. And lots of different ways of getting perspectives and insights from ourselves, because really that's the whole point of tarot readings, is to draw the insight from within and gain those new perspectives. So I hope that that makes sense. I'm not sure if there's any questions. Okay, thank you for that, Mary Lynn. So if there's anyone else who's interested in having a full reading tonight, and Mary Lynn, please reach out to me. I will keep you in mind. We'll connect about that mediumship that you were interested in. For sure, I'll help you with that. So if anyone else is interested in receiving the full tarot reading tonight, just let me know. I'm going to give one to Given Ramsey, and then I have a second spot available. I'm just going to write that down. So if there are any questions at all, just let me know, and we will begin. So I'm going to start with Given Ramsey. If you're still there, if you have a particular question or topic you want me to focus on, or if you want me just to focus on the question that you've already put out there in regards to the sum of money and the bets, I can do that too. I can do a full reading on that, and we can look at what's involving that topic. I always start my readings with a 1-card impression pull, whether it's a short reading or a full reading. I always like to do this because it can be really important and helpful to look back at where you're sitting energetically in the moment when, you know, the reading is saying all this is happening, or there's a lot of information going on, a lot of messages. It can make sense why you're feeling the way you are now. So I'm just connecting with Given Ramsey's name and our interaction so far. I'm charging the cards with that intention, and I'm just asking the cards for 1 card to describe the energetic state that you're in, Given, at the moment. Okay, just gonna cut the deck 3 times. And for you, I get the Strength card reversed. Now, quite often this card comes out on the table for someone who has this amazing inner strength inside them. If the card was this way, Given, I would suggest that you connect with that inner strength, that you understand your own inner strength, and that you can step into that power. When it's reversed like this, the way that it came out for your reading so far, it doesn't mean that you don't connect or that you don't have that inner strength, but that you may not realize it, or that you may not realize how much inner strength is actually there. This quite often the card can come out like this if I'm talking to someone who may have some confidence issues, or that you can feel more confident than you do. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Ramsey, or sorry, Given Ramsey. Let me know if that makes sense to you. And I'll continue your reading with this deck. Okay, so I'll continue with the prosperity reading with this deck, and I'm just charging the cards with this in mind right from the beginning and asking the cards your question. And when I intuitively feel like I should stop shuffling, that's when I know that the cards have placed themselves in the right order for me to receive those messages. Just feel like I should shuffle one more time for you here. Okay, I'm going to cut the deck 3 times. Okay. So, Given, for you, the subject of this reading is the Queen of Swords. Here's the card. Here's how it looks. And what this really represents is having these heavy thoughts on your mind and making those decisions, sitting in the throne of the queen, so to speak, to get those decisions and heavy thoughts and intellect and make those decisions. Now, these are usually decisions in terms of like caring for others, or in terms of like not only affects you, but affects others in your world. So just keep that in mind. I do feel like this goes along with your question in terms of these, the bets and the sums of money and the prosperity that you're questioning. It's still in thought. It's still in process. There's a lot to think about, a lot to decide on this. Now, what works against you is not having the stability in your home. This is the 4 of Wands, And that's how it looks reversed. Normally when it comes out like this, 4 is like stability. When you think about a building, it's got 4 walls. It's like structure and foundation. And it usually means happy home when it looks like this. When it's reversed like this, it can mean like unhappy home, or it could mean like dysfunction, or not going the way that it should, or not smoothly riding in that structure or stability. Doesn't mean that the home is an unhappy home or dysfunctional family. It doesn't mean anything like that. What it really means is just the disruptions that can be caused within that happy home. And it's saying that that works against you. So it works against you with this unhappiness or this unstructure. So turning this card around may be valuable for you in terms of not having that against you anymore. So looking at what you have and making it structured, or being happy with what you have in your home. Excuse me. Now, what grounds you in this reading? Excuse me. What grounds you in this reading is the 6 of Cups. Or sorry, the 6 of Blades. The card looks like this, and it represents taking what you need and deciding what you leave behind, and like finding a better place. And that grounds you. I think it grounds you to move on from things you've let go. I think you're the type of person that you can make those decisions. You can decide what you take with you, what you leave behind, and what you move on with, and finding that better resolution. Once I start talking, I just start coughing. So from the past to now, it's been about not getting on board, not getting on task with this financial topic. This is the Page of Swords. It came out reversed. It looks like this. And as I've pointed out, swords represent heavy thoughts and intellect, and pages are like when you get the ball rolling, or when you get on task, or you take the action that you need to get started. And it's reversed, meaning that didn't happen. And this comes from your past. So there's probably a lot of this, or some of this, that has happened in the past where you didn't get on to that prosperity path. Now, what may come to be is the Justice card reversed, meaning that something's going to feel unfair or unjust or unkind. And I don't believe that this is in terms of your own impression of how you're viewed. I think this is more in terms of your experience. Now, that's not a guarantee. That is a possibility. So this is just speaking to the risk that's involved, that there's this potential for injustice, or for it to not go the way that you need it to. Now, what I really like about this is that there is a King of Cups in the definite future position. And the King of Cups looks like this. Cups represent emotion and feelings, and kings are like similar to the queens, except sometimes there's sacrifices involved in making the decisions for the world around you. And so I feel like these are emotional decisions that need to be made moving forward. Kings don't necessarily mean that it's going to be like, these could be difficult decisions, but they usually lead to good outcomes. So I feel like that's where we're getting this chance. You know, you have a definite decision, emotional decision to make in the chance of this injustice. Now, your fear is to have things not balance out. This is the Temperance card reversed. If it was this way, I would suggest that your fear is to balance out all this stuff, the positive and negative, and work out this finance. But with it being reversed in the fear position, it's telling me the opposite of that what you fear is actually things not balancing out. And that kind of makes sense given this risk, and that the topic is about prosperity and money, sums of money based on bets. Now, your the opinions of people around you, this would be like close friends and family. The opinions of them is that they have some pretty harsh judgments on this. They may not agree. This is the Judgment card reversed. And I think you have some people around you that don't judge you on this, and some people that may be opinionated that do. And I just want you to know that the people that are closest to you probably are not the ones judging you. That just the way that this card is making me feel intuitively in its position, I feel like you have some support in this, even from people who may not totally understand what it is you're doing, if that makes sense to you. And the Hope is the High Priestess reversed. Now, this card is really interesting to come out in this position because we're talking about financial prosperity and what your hope is. And it's almost like if someone told you where you were going to lead, you wouldn't get there. So if someone told you what financial decisions were best for your approach and you made those financial decisions, you wouldn't have learned the lesson that you needed to come to the decision to make those financial decisions. And then you wouldn't end up being where you were. It's like there's part of your journey that is the lesson itself. And so you sort of have to go through those lessons in order to get where you're going. That's what that card is telling me. And I just feel like it's kind of iffy for you. There's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of chance. And if I told you the way it was going to work out, it may not go that way. So for example, if I said to you, like what the reading is telling me is that if I said to you, oh, absolutely, you're going to have no problems and you're going to, get this money and your bets are going to be solid and you're going to win, you're not going to do the work that you need to do to actually get there. So you can't really be told what the outcome's going to be according to this card in your hopes position because you may not follow through. So in not telling you, as the card is describing, in not telling you where you hope to lead, you're going to lead there. And I think that just speaks to the array of options that you may have, or you may not have decided exactly where you're headed, or you may have something in your mind like a goal or a determination that is slightly different from where you're going to end up. Now, this is the conclusion of the reading, and I have two cards that came out. And so it's not a very long path. It means that this conclusion to this reading is more definite. And so I'm going to just look at these two cards in the order that they came out. The first one is the Four of Cups reversed. And quite often when this card comes out, it's basically saying that at some point you stopped saying, what if? What if I made this decision? What if this was different? Looking back at the different ways that you may have felt a certain way, and what if I made that change? Or what if I felt differently? Or what if I explored that emotion? Or, you stopped doing that. You stopped saying what if, and you just chose a direction. And then you defeated some sort of adversary. This is the Devil card reversed, and this is the conclusion of the reading itself. And it's really talking about this adversary that no longer is around. If the card showed up like this where it wasn't reversed, I would suggest that you're going to be up against this adversary, that there's going to be some new adversary coming out of somewhere in this situation that is going to really cause problems or disruption. And it's reversed, meaning that this adversary is either going to be defeated or avoided or taken care of, but not going to cause that disruption. And I really think that speaks highly to what your reading is about. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, I see a lot of swords. There are no pentacles on the table whatsoever. And the reason why I find that important is because the subject of this reading was on prosperity and large sums of money from bets, and coins, or pentacles, represent coins. They are the money messages in the reading, and you didn't receive any. And so I really feel like what this reading is really describing is the situation that you're in now, not necessarily where you're headed. And the reason for that is, thanks to this card, in your hopes, if in your hopes position, if you were told where you were headed, you wouldn't get there. So the reading is not going to give you the specific answer. What it's giving you, I think, is the description of the situation that you're in now. Let me know if this makes sense to you, Given. I'm wondering if there's just some decisions that need to be made. Some of these cards could be tweaked or turned around in terms of where you're headed or where the reading is saying you're going. So for example, where you're sitting right now, the position that you're in the moment, is the Strength card reversed, meaning that you could be more confident, you could be more secure in what you believe and what you're doing for yourself. If you turned this card around, just as example, if you started feeling more confident in yourself, if you started feeling more secure in your decisions or what you have trust in yourself and what you need to do, that could change some of these other cards in terms of where you're headed, because you're going to have that confidence to do what you need. Until you figure that out, the messages are varied. Now, I'm wondering if I can expand on this a little further, given that it's basically, I'm getting a sense that this is more describing where you're at now instead of where you're headed. I'm wondering if we could ask one of my cards, oracle cards, for an advice pull, just asking the cards for some advice moving forward. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you, Given. Let me know which deck sounds better to use. I have 3 decks in mind that may be helpful, and I want you to choose one. So the first deck that comes to mind is my Heart Chakra deck. This deck is really great at giving advice from an internal perspective on what we need for ourselves. Then I have my Zen deck. And this deck is really great at giving advice in terms of how we interact with the energies around us. So the Heart Chakra deck is more internal. This one is more external. And then I have my Pagan Tarot deck, which really does give great advice in terms of how we mix the subject of the reading into our lives and the modern life, because sometimes tarot symbolisms come from an age that really doesn't exist anymore, and I love how this deck kind of puts it in a modern perspective, and I find that sometimes that can be helpful to get advice in terms of like future positioning. Pick a random one. Okay, I can do that. I'm not going to pick a random one. I'm going to pick the one that I think might help you most. And I think that's going to be the Zen deck, in my personal opinion, because it gives great advice in terms of how we interact with the energies around us. I have a feeling from this reading, you may already know what it is you want. I mean, it's a prosperity topic. So, you know, it's pretty obvious what you're hoping for. So I think that this might be helpful in terms of giving advice on how you do that. What interactions around you, external interactions, would be helpful or would be advised. And so I'm just going to start shuffling this deck and charging it with the energies from this reading right from the beginning. And just to let you know as well that this deck I don't use reversals with this deck. It's just my relationship that I formed with this deck. And so I'm just going to be reading the cards as they appear face up. Just cut the deck one more time. I'll hold the cards up so you can see them. Now, interestingly enough, I have 3 cards. One is a Higher Arcana card, and that's the more important message in this tarot structure. And so I'm going to start there and then go in the order of the other cards. So the first card is the Higher Arcana card. It's the Past Lives card. It looks like this. And quite often this card comes out in a reading like this where we've asked for suggestions or advice moving forward. And interestingly enough, we're being told to look back. Look back at past life regression, past life experiences. Sometimes this can be analyzed or reviewed by exploring our feelings, instincts, and emotions during the time of what's going on. So for example, in terms of your goals financially, you know, this topic was about prosperity and sums of money. If your goals, how do you feel about those goals? Why is it that you need to achieve them? Is there a connection to something that you may have gone through in a previous life that you're not getting over, or you haven't learned the lesson from yet that you could learn in this life? Quite often we're put on a path to learn those lessons if we haven't learned them in a previous life, if you believe in reincarnation. And so that's what this card is really pointing to, is analyzing those past lives. How do we interact with the external energies around us? It sounds like there's a lot more happening internally for you than externally. Now, the next card that comes out is the Nine of Intellect, and this represents sorrow. It's the sorrow card. So there's obviously some loss involved for you in terms of this subject, and what it's really saying is to explore what that means for you, explore the sorrow that's involved in terms of finances, whether that's in terms of having finances or not having finances. I'll leave that up to you, but I just feel like there's something to be worked out, given that this is a card of thoughts and intellect. 9 in numerology is like the end of a path when we reach our destination. And I just feel like in order for you to reach that destination, you're going to have to work out what this is. Now, these two cards go hand in hand with the sorrow that you could be feeling and this past life regression that's required or happening. I get the sense that some of this sorrow is coming from the feelings of that past experience. And then the last card I want to talk about in this pull is the exhaustion card. This is the 9 of action in this tarot deck. And it basically represents exhaustion, taking so much action that you're just tired, you're fed up perhaps, you're just exhausted. And this could be in terms of like what you're doing or how you're thinking. You know, you've come up with so many different ideas and now what do you do next? It's that kind of feeling, just being exhausted. Now, what I find really fascinating about this is your past lives card is the 18 number on the deck. 18 in numerology breaks down to a 9. You have the 9 of intellect on the sorrow card, and you have the 9 of action on the exhaustion card. In my opinion, these are all 9s in numerology. So 999. And the message for 999 in numerology is that final conclusion, reaching the final destination. I really feel like this is part of the path that you're meant to walk. Given that there's a lot in this path that seems like almost fate-like for you. Let me know your thoughts on that, please. But I really do get a sense from this that in order for you to interact and get through, like the suggestion that's being advised here is to work on yourself, work on this experience that you may have gone through, work on the sadness and sorrow that's involved in this exhaustion, do something about it, find ways of recharging yourself, even if it's something like some people use like meditations or yoga or jogging or just anything that gets you into a mindset that you can let things go, that you can relieve your mind of heavy thoughts and intellectual processes for even just a moment. I really think that that's going to help you. Sometimes when we clear our minds, new ideas, it gives room for new ideas. It gives room for intellectual growth and expansion. So just keep that in mind. I do hope that that's helpful for you. Now we do have a little bit of time left. What I'm wondering is if we can expand on this a little further. Okay, thank you for that confirmation given. I really appreciate that feedback, that this is all making sense for you and that you're able to resonate and connect with these messages. I'm wondering if one more pull from this deck would be helpful. This is my Life Paths deck, and this may be really helpful in terms of pinpointing the portion of life path that you're walking. And given how this has gone, where you don't really have a stated outcome of where you're headed, like we can't give you clarity on where you're going to go in the event that you'll head there. And then the advice is really the external advice that we asked is about going within. And because it was on your life path, I think that part of your knowing the portion of life path that you're on in your life purpose may be helpful. And so I'm going to use my Sacred Destiny deck for this. I'm just going to draw one card from this deck, asking it for clarity to pinpoint the portion of life path that you're on currently in regards to this reading. I feel like I should stop shuffling and get that card. So the card that I got is Simplicity. I get that to show up any clearer. There. Now, a lot of times when I use this deck, the image is very relevant to my client, not necessarily to me. So if there's anything in this image that brings up for you, if it brings up a memory, or if the clouds stand out for you, or if the feather stands out for you, or if it's the sky in the background that stands out for you, don't ignore that. Keep in mind the association that you're drawing from this image. A lot of the comments that I get from when I use this deck is, oh, I dreamt that, or I had a tattoo of that, or there's always usually a connection. So go with that connection if you receive messages yourself given from this deck, because quite often that happens. Now for me, the Simplicity deck, the Simplicity card from the Sacred Destiny deck really speaks to the complications that you may have went through in a previous life, that you're here to simplify things, not complicate things. And that quite often when this card shows up on the table for this kind of reading, it can mean that the person went through some really horrific, complicated process. And so they're here to simplify things, to learn to simplify things. Perhaps in a previous life you were complicating things for one reason or another, and so you're in this life to simplify. There's some sort of connection in terms of this busyness that went on and simplifying. So let me know if this makes sense to you, given that you may be feeling like that complicated hassle structure really disturbs you internally, which would make sense to me why in your grounding position in the reading, you sort out what you take with you and what you don't, that it grounds you to do that. And so I could see this being a very difficult process to be in for you. Now, I'm also going to do a 3-card pull from the Heart Chakra deck. And the reason why I'm going to suggest that is because when we did the external influences reading, it pointed to internal things to focus on. And so I'm going to continue with this deck, just do a 3-card pull while we have a moment to do that, to just to confirm that, given that the external advice was all about internal processes, I want to know what the advice would be in terms of internally for your emotions. Oh, I feel like I should still shuffle. It's telling me to shuffle more. Okay. just going to cut the deck 3 times. Now, this is fascinating. 3 cards came out as I planned, but 2 of them are higher arcana cards and they point to other chakras. So, for example, this is the heart chakra deck. It's supposed to give us advice based on what we need for ourselves from a heart chakra standpoint. What it pointed me to was the crown chakra and the sacral chakra. And both of these are reversed. Now, I'm going to talk about that and what that means in a moment. But the one that I want to focus on first, given, is the clarity of beliefs card that came out as well with these cards. And this is usually about believing in yourself. Number 1 in numerology is like spiritual development, and it's the clarity of belief. And you can see from the image, you know, it's really about believing in yourself, believing in your own ability and your own power and sitting in that clarity. And so, again, it's speaking the same messages that you need to work on a lot of stuff in terms of you and the processes that are going on emotionally for you. Now, the other 2 cards are really fascinating. The sacral card being reversed and the crown chakra card being reversed. I'm going to start with the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is like our creativity and our, sometimes it can be impulsiveness, but it's really about our creativity and getting our passions going. And it's reversed, meaning that yours could be out of balance. So either this means that you're not being creative enough or passionate enough, or you're being too creative, too passionate. Finding that balance for that chakra is going to be important for you, given just based on what's coming out in this reading so far. So I hope that that makes sense to you, that you really need to be careful not to overthink it or like if you put too much into it, or be too creative in the sense of like, oh, how do I want to describe this? It's almost like I'm getting a sense of just that it could work in your disadvantage to give this too much creativity. I think you need to sort of put it out and let it go and see where it ends up, and not be so focused, I guess the word is I'm looking for. But this crown chakra, that's also where it's bringing me to this focus, because the crown chakra is about your thoughts and intellect. The crown chakra happens up here in terms of like the crown of your head. And it's really about the thoughts and intellect. And when there's an imbalance with your crown chakra, you're either not giving things enough thought, or you're giving things too much thought. Now, these 2 chakras connected in this way can be a very hard balance to get over, because not only are you thinking things unbalanced, but your creativity is also off balance. So I'm not sure. I do get the sense that it's more like if you were more creative, if you have this creativity inside you, if you could just trust it, that might help you find that balance. And in terms of working out those heavy thoughts, is going to help you as well balance those chakras into alignment. And then in terms, if you can do that, you're going to fit into this clarity of belief for yourself. You're going to be standing in your own power. I really feel like that's what this card is really talking about the whole time. This absence of strength when the strength is there. You just need to believe that it's there. And I think that's what this card's really saying, the clarity of belief. Just believing that the strength is there, and that's going to help you align these other chakras. I hope that that makes sense for you, given. Okay, thank you for that confirmation. I really appreciate your messages there coming up. If you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I really feel like if each reading, hold on. Sorry about that. So I really feel like each reading that we've done is kind of saying the same messages, right? Work on internally, work on internally, work on internally. I think that if we continued on with this reading, it's just going to keep hammering home the same message that you need to work on what's happening inside, the emotional disturbances or trauma that you may be experiencing, possibly from experience in this life or in a previous life. It really is connected to the life path that you're on and creating this simplicity. And I feel like that can go hand in hand with this. What works against you is the disruptions of your structure. I mean, that alone works against simplicity. I hope that makes sense for you. I do hope this reading was helpful given. I'm going to start putting the cards away and just thanking the cards for their input. And I can move on to the next reading. Now, was there anyone else who wanted to have a full reading? I may have missed the names that were coming up while I was in the reading. So do apologize. Please let me know. You're very welcome, Given. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you. So I'm just going to take a moment to thank my decks. And anyone else who's interested to receive a reading, just let me know. Otherwise, I may just continue with Mary Lynn Hack. If you're still on the line and want to receive the full reading, I'll still offer you the conversation on mediumship as well. I was hoping to do 2 examples of full readings today, just to give those differences and examples. So if anyone else is interested in a full reading, or Maria, if you're still there. Unfortunately, I have trouble seeing who's watching. I can't see always how many people are watching or who's watching me until the messages appear in the chat. So just let me know if you're still there. Oh, there you are. Hi, Maria Lynn. And am I pronouncing your name right? Maria Lynn? Okay, let's do it. So as I did before, Marie, I'm just going to start with a 1-card impression pull from this deck, and that's going to just tell me where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And then I'm going to move to this deck, and that's when you'll have an opportunity to ask a specific question or give me a topic to focus on, or you can leave it general. Quite often when readings are left general, the messages that need to be heard come up in the cards anyways, but it's up to you if you want to try and refine that reading. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Marilyn. I appreciate that. Thank you. I always like to make sure that I get people's names right. So let me know if you have a topic or question you want me to focus on, Marilyn. I'm just focusing on your energy in the moment. Absolutely, I can do it on that topic. So for you, before we get to that question, I'm just going to look at where you're at energetically in the moment right now, and you have the Knight of Pentacles reversed. So quite often what this means in an impression pull is that you are taking action in terms of a financial decision. or a financial means, and it's just not materializing or getting off the ground. So either you've refrained from taking that action, or you're in the process of do you take that action or not, or like maybe you decided not to and that's why it's come out reversed. But there's some sort of process in terms of like not taking that action. Does that make sense for you, Marilyn? Let me know if you can connect with that. I do get a sense that this is about money as opposed to health, and that it really is about like not taking action in terms of finances. Now, sometimes that can mean, it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily mean like missed opportunity. It can mean that just the best decision was made to not proceed, or. But let me know how you resonate with that message. And I'm going to continue with your question. Now, your question was to see what your spiritual path looks like. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do the same type of spread, a Celtic Crook spread, so that we can analyze the different areas. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I continue charging the cards with your question. I see your comment there. Indefinitely. I do think that that could be related to the position that you're at now, given what you just said to me, Merlin. This inability to take that action in terms of money. Absolutely. If that's how you're resonating with that, I could definitely see that. In terms of tarot structure, when you think about the four court cards, or the four court levels, like there's a king, a queen, a knight, and a page. The king and queens are the ones that are like making the decisions in the best interest of the court or the realm or the kingdom. And then the pages are the ones that get those messages moving. They, you know, when the king and queen make a decision, it's the page that brings that decision to the knight. It's the knight that then puts it to action. And so knights are a representative of like getting on board or taking action, or a process that's begun, or, you know, a process being initiated. And pentacles is either health or finances. And I do get the sense that this is more about finances than health. And so when it's reversed like that, it can often mean not getting on board, or not getting on that path, or not starting or initiating, being able to initiate. So in terms of your question, the subject of your reading is really about this transformation that had to do with an injustice. This is the Justice card reversed. And what it's telling me is that when we're talking about your spiritual path and where it's leading, we're really talking about the injustice that you're going through. And quite often, spiritual growth can come from some sort of enlightenment, and enlightenment can most likely come from like when things get disrupted and you learn from that journey moving forward. Now, what works against you in this, which is interesting, we've had this card come up already before in the previous reading, but it's the Temperance card reversed. So not being able to find the balance in what you're going through is going to work against you. So looking at the positive in the negative experience, if you're not able to see the positive side of a negative experience, that's going to be harder for you. What this is really suggesting, I believe, Marilyn, is just to try and create that balance. Look for the positives in what you're going through, okay? Now, what grounds you in this reading is the Hermit card reversed, meaning that you don't want to be introverted. You're not the type of person that wants to do this all yourself. You appreciate help from others. You appreciate helping others. You appreciate getting outside of your shell and standing your own and being your own. And so I could understand, given what you've said, that this could be a very difficult position for you in terms of it grounds you to be out and about. It grounds you to take the action. You are not the type of person that wants to stay introverted within and just like hold it inside. So this is about something that's coming out of you. And given that your question was about spiritual development, I think that this is a great place for you to be in. What grounds you is getting out of within, getting on the surface and exploring that. Now, from the past to now, in terms of this reading, there was a lot of work that just wasn't getting done. So in terms of that spiritual development, you probably had a lot of ambitious goals that just weren't being ticked off, that weren't being accomplished, or that there was work to be done in terms of spiritual development that wasn't getting done. And so you're going to be doing that moving forward. You could be getting it done now. Now, what may come to be is the Empress card reversed. This is a really interesting position for the Empress card to be in, especially reversed, because quite often the Empress is about taking on the responsibilities of like motherhood or feminine roles, or like caring for others, or just that kind of position. And so when it's reversed, it can often mean that there is this possibility of you no longer having to care for others, or no longer accepting some sort of responsibility in terms of care and nurturing. Now, what will come to be is this choice of actions, and having to foresee the outcome before making the decision. This is the Two of Wands sitting in your definite future position. And so out of this reading, in terms of spiritual development, there's going to be this choice. You may not appreciate the responsibility that's going to come with that, and you're going to have to make a choice in terms of what you do, what actions you take moving forward. Now, I'm just reading the messages there that you've submitted. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, I understand that. I also, as a tarot reader, I will also go to other tarot readers just to get another perspective and new insight. Different tarot readers can bring different qualities to the reading. So I appreciate that, Marilyn, that you are a tarot reader as well. Thank you for letting me do your reading for you. I'm just reading some of the messages that are coming up. So quite often, spiritual developments happen when there's a traumatic situation or experience to go through. When we go through something traumatic, we connect with a higher level of ourselves in order to get through it, and that can bring enlightenment. So in terms of what you fear, moving on with your reading, Marilyn, this is a really interesting card to have in a fear position, because I like to call this the bliss card. It's the 10 of Cups. It looks like this, and it really represents this all around happiness. Now, given that this is in your fear position, I'm a little confused, because if you fear being happy, or you fear reaching the goal or reaching the end of what you have, quite often this can come out. I've had this come out in a reading before where the person may have been afraid of the outcome. So if you complete everything that's on the list, there'll be nothing else to complete, and that can be scary. Let me know how that relates for you. I really feel like this could be a determination of having fear of the emotional openness or the opening that's happening for you, the enlightenment. I feel like that could be scaring you, that this might be an experience that's overwhelming emotionally, and that could be the fear that we're talking about. Please let me know if you can confirm that. Yes, I just got your message, confused about the Ten of Cups in fear. As I was just saying, it is confusing because quite often the fear position is not always something positive, unless there's something about the outcome. Or, 10 is like when cycles repeat themselves in numerology, you reach the end and then there's a new beginning. And so it could be something of that regard. I do get a sense when I look at this card, what stands out for me is the row of cups and how they're aligned. And so I feel like um, there could be a fear of this emotional opening. Either you fear the new emotions that are going to come and be realized, or you could fear what's going to come out from within to be exposed and have to deal with again. Let me know how that resonates for you. Oh, okay. So that would make sense for me then if you feel like this is more like fearing the openness, like the realization of what you're going through, that would make sense to me in terms of why it's saying this emotional cycle is in your fear position. The opinions of close friends and family around you is the Eight of Cups reversed. So this cup often represents when it's this way, it often represents like leaving emotions behind and finding higher ground or stable ground and just not wanting to sort through those emotions. When it's reversed, it means that you're being viewed, like, because this was an opinion position, that you're being viewed by friends and family as not escaping the higher ground. You're sitting in those emotions, you're working them out. And they see that. I think that there's some evidence there for them. Yeah, so a lot of times on spiritual developmental growth, just commenting on the messages that I just received from you, Merlin. Quite often, when there's a spiritual growth, it can mean like getting past some sort of past trauma or childhood situation, perhaps, or from a previous life that you have to work out and get past. And once you get past it, you come to this new enlightenment and new level of consciousness. And so it really sounds like you're in that process. It's really fascinating. And so the hope position for you, Marilyn, is the Five of Wands. Normally, the card looks like this, and it represents sort of your actions being up against other people's actions. Quite often, this card can come out for like friendly competition where everyone's kind of holding their own up against each other. And yours came out reversed, meaning that your hope is to not compete. Your hope is to not be up against anyone else. And given that this was about spiritual development or where you're headed spiritually, I feel like this is an important card because you hope to not butt heads with others, in other words, right? You're hoping to not have your actions go up against other people. And in spiritual development, it's really important to focus on your own way, what resonates with you. Even in terms of like when people start learning spell work to manifest, quite often, if the more satisfying the ritual is for you, the more likely manifestation will occur. And that's because of doing it your own way. You can't just pick up a book and learn a spell, for example, and expect that in doing the spell the same way the book says that it's going to work out for you in the same way that it's described. you have to resonate, you have to connect with. And so making those changes and doing it your own way is really important for that manifestation to occur towards your own desires. And I feel like that's what's being said here. It's really saying that you hope to do this your own way. Now, the next part is the conclusion, and I'm going to do it in accordance to a path. Now, 4 cards came out by the time I reached a higher arcana card. And the higher arcana card that I got is the Sun card. And this is all about healing and being in a sense of empowerment. And so I love this conclusion for your reading, Marilyn, because it really speaks to the process that you're in, that this is all about healing and stepping into that empowerment. Now, the cards leading up to that are important, and I'm going to go through them. I feel like this is describing the path that you've taken to get here. So let me know if this makes sense to you, okay, Marilyn? I'm just reading some of the messages. Hi, Brenda. Thanks for your message. I might have time for a short reading for you after I'm done this one, if you'd like to stick around. Just because of your question and the urgency of your message, I wouldn't mind offering that to you. I'm only doing 2 full readings in this broadcast, and this is my 2nd full reading. And so I may have a little bit of time after to do a short reading. If you're interested, let me know. Okay, Brenda? So getting back to Marilyn's reading, when I look at this path that you've taken, it started off with these heavy thoughts, like pinning you down and binding your hands practically, like stopping you from engaging or stopping you from taking action. Swords represent heavy thoughts and intellect, and you can see here it was just an overwhelm that held you back. Speaking of overwhelm, the next card is about emotional overwhelm. It's like getting overwhelmed by everything that you're going through and the amount of choices that you have to choose from. And that led to not having everything in your world the way that you would have liked. If the card came out this way, it would mean like having everything in your world in the way that you see. But because it's reversed and it's part of your path, that these 2 cards led up to this like no longer seeing your world in the image that you would like. And then that leads to the Sun card. So there was this healing that needs to take place, and this healing that possibly took place, and this empowerment. And I really think that this really speaks to what you had said in your comment, Merlin, about going through all of that horrible situations to end up feeling like you're on this spiritual growth journey. And you can kind of see that in the cards in terms of this, these heavy thoughts and the overwhelm and, losing what you want to see in your life. And then this healing that it leads to. It's like this balance of this negative situation leading to something positive. Now, what I like about the way that that's described in terms of a balance is that what works against you is not recognizing that balance, not seeing the good in the negative situation. So just keep that in mind, that I really think that some of this could be just changing your point of view. Yes, exactly. Good times and good vibes are coming. And that's the conclusion of where your reading's headed, Marilyn. So I really think that that speaks positive to your spiritual growth, because that was the topic that we focused on right from charging this deck, was the spiritual growth and development that you're currently on. Very interesting. So as you said, Marilyn, these last 4 cards here describe the last 4 years that you've been on. So you feel like then that you're at the end of this path, that you've already gone through these other steps of this path to get here. And I think that that really speaks to what you've been through. You've been through this ride and now you're leading towards this healing. And I just think that this really does speak positive to you, that things may start turning around if you found this being a very difficult path to be on. Now, I'm wondering if I can expand on this a little further. I'm just wondering, because it's about I can't narrow it down, so I'm gonna ask my Sixth Sense deck to give some input on this. Now, this is my Sixth Sense deck. It does exactly that. It connects with a sixth sense and gives you sort of predictions or messages that are relating to where we're headed. And I'm just reading. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Cassandra. It's very nice to see you here. I'm so happy that we met at the Spring Festival, and I'm going to be at the Summer Pagan Festival in Niagara Falls in June. So check my website out if you want to come say hi to me there as well. So Marilyn, this one is for you. I'm just going to pull one card from this deck. I'm asking it for a little bit of clarity moving forward. This is the Sixth Sense deck, so quite often expect the unexpected from this deck. But I really think that it could be helpful. I just feel drawn to it when I was looking at which deck may give advice. And so we have the Imagination card. What's really interesting about the Imagination card that came out is this is often used to describe like using imagination for positivity, you know, being able to see outside of the box, or to see the big picture, or to see the full picture, using your imagination to know what comes next or where you're leading. Or, you know, sometimes we can put our storyline into like a fairy tale theme in order to analyze what we're doing in our lives, or, you know, what does this sound like, or where does this resonate for us? And I really think that's what this is talking about, is using imagination to you know, in terms of like spiritual development. Think outside the box, think outside of you know, outside of within. And I really think that this goes hand in hand with your reading in terms of like having the Hermit card reversed in your grounding position, because you're the type of person who wants to be on the outside. You have this growth happening, this spiritual development, and just the ways that you may look at it could help change how you feel or the outcome. So let me know how that makes sense to you, Marilyn. That's really cool, Marilyn. If you just saw the number 222, quite often rows of twos can represent spiritual partnerships, or gaining help or guidance from spirit. And so I just think that seeing those master numbers can be really beneficial in receiving those messages and guidance as you're going through. If you believe in like synchronicities, quite often the messages come to us through synchronicity. I'm just gonna fix my camera for a second. There we go. Quite often messages come to us through synchronicities. It can come from spirit or guidance or ancestors or deities, or like source, or like wherever you are drawing your guidance from. If you keep a focus on that, whenever we focus on spirit, like for example, an ancestor, when we think of them, we draw them to us and they're able to be around us. And so if we think of them during times of need or times of crisis, or when we're going through something that we wish we had the support of that loved one that's no longer with us, they are actually with us. And when we do that, we draw them into us. And quite often they can leave us synchronistic messages in life. So those little messages, like when you think of a loved one and then a song appears on the radio and that song is the song that reminds you of them as soon as they appear to your mind, it's almost like them just saying that they're there. Don't ever look at that like it's just a coincidence, in the same way as those numbers. I feel like that power number or that master number is really saying to you that there could be messages that are synchronistic that you could either be seeing or missing depending on how open your eyes are. Does that make sense for you, Marilyn? Now, when I look at your reading as a whole, I see you have a lot of higher arcana cards. You have 5 higher arcana cards in your main crux spread. And what that really is saying to me again is that there could be messages of synchronicity that you could be missing. Given that there's 4 higher arcana cards in your main spread and 1 in your conclusion, the 1 in your conclusion is upright and the rest of them are all reversed, which is where I get that sign that there could be synchronistic messages not being seen. So just keep your eyes open for that. That may be helpful in terms of guiding you on that spiritual path. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions, Marilyn, before I put the cards away. And then I will reach out to Brenda. I'll do a short reading for Brenda before we end the broadcast tonight. So just Marilyn, I saw your comment there on the many reversals. Just keep in mind that reversals are not necessarily negative or bad. They just tweak the message slightly to be more clear in the way that the message needs to be delivered. So for example, having a reversed Hermit in your grounding position actually speaks positive in terms of opening up, not wanting to stay within and introverted. I really think that speaks positive to the subject, which is about spiritual development. Or the Empress card being reversed, for example, given that it's a possible future, it could mean that not wanting to step into some sort of responsibility. So let me know if that all makes sense. And I will just thank the cards and start to put them away. So thank you, Marilyn, for letting me do your reading for you. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. I really appreciate that. If you'd like, go to my website and click on the book a free reading or book a reading link at the top. It just says book a reserve a reading, and then there's a payment option in there if you wouldn't mind. I do accept donations as well, and that's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. So I'm just thanking the cards while I decharge them and put them away. Thank you. And thank you. So I also accept Google reviews on my website as well. There's a link there if you're interested, just to let me know how your experience went, or just provide some feedback on how you feel the reading went. I totally appreciate that. So, Brenda, I'm going to start with you. I'm just reading your message there. Having trouble seeing the message there because it's on the screen. Just a moment. Just want to make sure I get this right. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Brenda. That sounds like so frustrating situation to be in. Okay, I'm going to focus on your question, Brenda. I'm going to start with a 1-card impression pull, and that's going to tell me where you're at energetically in the moment. And then I'm going to move to this deck, and that's when I'm going to focus on your question. Now, this is going to be a short reading, and so I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we're going to look at how the cards speak together and to each other in order to retrieve those messages. And then we should have a little bit of time that I can expand on that a little further using an oracle deck or another tarot deck if we need to, if that's helpful. Now, your question is really about health moving forward and the situation that you're dealing with, various situations that you're dealing with. And so I'm going to be asking the cards just for a general prediction moving forward. I think that that would be helpful in terms of getting the leaving enough leniency in the deck for messages that need to be heard to come up, if that makes sense. You're very welcome, Marilyn. I see your message there. Thank you for letting me do your reading for you. Okay, Brenda, I feel like these are in the right order. And what I get for you is the Page of Cups reversed. It looks like this. And Marilyn, and Brenda, what often this card can represent is no longer being silly, getting down to business. I like to call this the take no shit card. When the Page of Cups looks like this, it came out reversed for you, but I feel like explaining the card's meaning may be helpful for you. When the card comes out like this, it can mean like lightening up or adding some silliness or looking at things with a sense of humor. You can see the fish sticking out of the cup. That's where that symbolism sort of comes from. When it's reversed like this, it can mean the opposite of that. You're no longer looking at this with a sense of humor. You're looking at this very serious. It's like getting down to business or getting to task. And so I feel like for you, it's like no more bullshit. Like let's, like that's the energy that you're in the moment. Now, reversed cards don't necessarily mean bad. It just means that the message is tweaked slightly to give a variety of meanings. So as I explained, if the card came out like this, not reversed, it would mean like lightening up, having more sense of humor, being a bit silly about it, maybe immaturity. When it's reversed, it means like the opposite of that, like maturity, or no longer being foolish or silly, or not accepting foolishness, or getting down to tasks seriously. So it's just a different way of looking at the message. Now, I'm going to start charging this deck with your question and topic, and this is really about where you're headed in terms of all these issues that you've been dealing with. These various problems that you were explaining, and I'm just keeping that in mind as I shuffle this deck. And I feel like that's it there. I'm going to cut the deck 3 times. Now, I get 3 cards coming out. They're really quite interesting. I'm going to start with in the order that they came out, okay? The first card that came out is the King of Cups. Looks like this. It's like emotional decisions that need to be made. I feel like for you, there's this emotional process. It's more than just a decision. It's like a process. And it's really about making the decisions about that process and how you see it fitting into your world. Now, beside that is a higher arcana card. It's the Hangman card. And this card comes out like this often for someone who may feel stuck, but they're not really stuck. So there may be some options that you may not be seeing that could help you, or there could be something that holding you back from feeling like you can move forward, right? And just, it's that stuck, not stuck feeling of like I'm not stuck, so I can do this, but then something's holding you back, making you feel stuck. Quite often this card can come out saying that there's just patience needed, that there's time and patience required. You can tell from the image that the person who's hanging, they're not stressed. You know, they actually look quite contented and comfortable just to hang there and wait. And that's really the symbolisms that's coming from this card in terms of like waiting it out, or you know, that's where I mean like stuck, not stuck. It's like you're not stuck, you're moving somewhere, but in the moment it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Now, the card beside that is the Seven of Swords reversed. And what this often represents is someone is not intellectually taking from you. I think you want to be careful feeling like you're being ripped off intellectually. If the card came out non-reversed, I would say that that would be potential, that would be something you would need to worry about, or that you would feel like someone's either taking, like stealing thoughts, or taking your ideas and running with them, or taking like taking credit for your thoughts and ideas. But it's reversed, meaning that that's not what's taking place, that it's more along the lines of retaining and being protective of that. So just keep that in mind, that I think that there's like a thought process for you that's healthy that others may not be supporting. Does that make sense for you, Brenda? Now, when I look at this reading together, we have higher arcana card bookended by a sword and a cup. What this is telling me, Brenda, is that this is like emotional thinking. Like these are thoughts that invoke emotion, and back and forth emotions that invoke thought, heavy thought and intellect. And it really revolves around this feeling of feeling stuck when you have options available to you. So if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, there could be some options available to you that you may not be seeing, or that haven't become apparent to you yet, if that makes sense. I think that's a better way of putting it. That there could be some options that you'll gain clarity on, or that will become available to you. So, but quite often this card does involve patience. Okay, so that could be something that you may want to work on, and that will help this journey be a little easier. If you find that your emotions and anxiety are horrible, that could be why this card is reversed, in the sense of like this emotional and intellectual surrounding your higher arcana card, which is the Hangman reversed, or non-reversed. If the Hangman was reversed, I would definitely agree that you would be stuck, that there wouldn't be any options available to you, but it's not. It's showing me that there is like this option available to you, or this opportunity that may come to be. Now, I'm wondering about expanding on this a little further. I feel like this has really done what our other reading did, which was describe the emotions that you're going through now, instead of telling us where you're headed. And so I'm wondering if we could get some advice from a card moving forward in terms of where you're headed. I'm going to use my Pagan Tarot deck. I think that this would be helpful in terms of how this topic is going to interact with like modern life and within your life. It's an interesting question that you just presented there. It's hard to say from this point, given how this reading was charged, where you're headed in terms of health compared to being diagnosed properly. I definitely see that in terms of like no longer looking at this with silliness or immaturity, like really getting down to task. And if you're in this position now of like, no bullshit, I could understand that given what you just said. But I don't think you're stuck. So I think if you were diagnosed incorrectly, that would create a sentiment of being stuck, or that you're stuck in a diagnosis. But your hangman non-reversed is kind of telling me that this is just going to take patience and time to sort out. So I get the sense that you may have or will have the information that you need to move forward. So that doesn't necessarily speak to a misdiagnosis, but again, the cards weren't being very clear on that topic because we had suggested like where you're heading in health. Now, like I said, if you were misdiagnosed in your health and you're headed towards this freeing or this opportunity that could come, that you're not going to feel stuck, that kind of talks against that. Would you agree? I'm going to focus on that with this deck moving forward. Just with what you said, I'm going to ask this deck for advice to move forward in the event of those options being either what you don't like, or what you would like to do or not like to do. I'm just going to focus on this deck in terms of where you're headed and advice to move on from this topic. Advice regarding this topic. I feel like this deck is jumpy, like it's going to tell me how to shuffle them. Okay, I'm going to cut the deck 3 times, one more time. Now, I find this fascinating. This is really a confirmation of the messages here that are being said, and I'll go through them, Brenda, really fast. First of all, I just think it's really neat that the reading really came out similar to the way that the other reading came out. So here we have the 9 of Cups, the 2 of Swords, and in the middle of both of those was the Hangman card. Now, interesting about this is you got the Hangman card in the middle in your original reading. And then when we asked for advice, it gave you the Hangman card again, bookended by a cup and a sword, which is the same kind of reading that we got initially. So I feel like what this is saying is this is just like confirmation of the messages that are being received here. Now, it's said that in the reading, you were in this position of just having to wait it out, and there will be options. And the advice is to wait it out and trust and see the options. So I really think that speaks highly to this reading, that this is a good, positive direction for you, Brenda. Now, the sword and the cups are not the same that came out in the original reading. The sword that came out in the reading was a reversed 7 of Swords, suggesting that, you didn't need to feel like something was being taken from you intellectually. Again, that doesn't really sound like a misdiagnosis to me, but just keep that in mind. But what the suggestion is the 2 of Swords. So this is like having 2 ideas and having to choose one of them, having to choose a way to go. It's almost like it's depicted on the card as being like, guess who? you know, like when someone stands behind you and covers your eyes and you have to guess who it is. And you have a choice of how to think about this. Okay, so that's the advice that's moving forward in terms of the swords, is to know that you have to make a decision. And then the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups really represents sort of the emotional challenge and putting your emotions in order, organizing your emotions. They use the reference in terms of like shopping, where you're at a store and you're deciding, oh, you know, do I want this? Do I want that? You know, should I be overwhelmed by the choices or not? Should I choose what I want to sort through? And that's really what this card is representing, is sorting through those emotional baggage or emotions that you may be going through, or those emotional processes. 9 in numerology is like the end of a path, so it's like sorting through all those emotions to get somewhere. And I really feel like that's a process that you need to get into. Once you get into that process where you're sorting out this overwhelm of emotions, you're going to be able to sit in the position of the king to make those emotional decisions. If you can sort out this decision that needs to be made in terms of what to do next, you're no longer going to feel like you're being ripped off or that something's being taken from you. And just know that part of the process is to be patient and wait it out. That could be in terms of healing. You know, healing takes time, it takes patience. A lot of times we would like things to be done like that in the snap of a finger, and it just doesn't work that way. And I really think that you're in a position to get really serious about this, given that how this card has come out in your initial impression poll. I feel like because of the reiteration here, that if we went through, the cards would just hammer home the same messages, that it's really about just waiting it out and being patient and not feeling stuck, just having trust in the process. I'm sorry to hear that, Brenda. It sounds like such a difficult situation for you to be in. I really do wish you well and hope that your situation gets better. Given how the cards have aligned themselves here, I do think that this speaks positive, that you are in a direction that you need to be going in, given that how these two Hangman cards have come out in the same position, in the same message. I really think that's the best advice, is to just have patience, you know, take the time that you need to not feel stuck. I do hope that was very helpful for you, Brenda. Let me know your thoughts or feedback on that. When I look at this reading as a whole, as I said, I see, you know, the same higher arcana card giving that important message. You have 2 swords and 2 cups, with a cup being where you're sitting now. And so I just think that this is like emotional for you and heavy on your mind, and that you just need to work through this process. Wow, that sounds very frustrating, Brenda. I feel for you. Just know that my thoughts are with you, and I do wish you well and many blessings. No, I didn't find that this was a negative reading at all. In fact, I do think it speaks highly to where you're headed. I think that you're headed towards a positive situation, even though the ride may be so negative right now, or the journey may be so difficult at the moment to get there. I do see that struggle in with the swords and the emotion, like the cups. But I really think that this speaks well, this lining of the higher arcana card of the Hangman. I do hope that it was helpful. Feel free to reach out to me again, Brenda, if you want to get involved in the draw that's happening on Monday. And I'm just making a note for Marilyn. if you want to reach out to me. I'm not sure if you're still on the call, but please reach out to me about that mediumship discussion. Thank you so much for everyone who joined me tonight. I really appreciate these Tarot Talk discussions. I appreciate the connections that get created. I appreciate when I see people come and they're watching. I can tell that some people are there even when they're not messaging, but I can't see like who they are or how many people are there. It's just the way that it shows up on the screen. So I just want to thank everyone for coming and showing up. To answer your question, Brenda, on Monday, May 15th, I'm having a free draw. Check out my website or my Facebook page. The Facebook is facebook.com/bryantarotreading, and my website is www.staffordtarot.com. And I'm doing a draw around between 9 and 10 in the morning, where anyone who shows interest, you either like, comment, or share any post that mentions the draw, and you're automatically included for a chance to win a free remote short session with me over Zoom. So it's more interactive than this. In this broadcast, I consider this a distant remote reading because there's only limited interaction. I'm only getting very specific messages in order to interact. But during a Zoom reading, you get one-on-one interaction where you can ask questions during the reading. I do a bird's eye view down towards the table, so you get to see the imagery much more clearly. And you're more involved and interactive in the reading itself. And so I do those draws monthly for a free reading, and all the information about those draws are on my website, www.staffordtarot.com/free, and it'll give you all the information about the draws. So thank you so much. I'm just going to thank the decks and put them away. And please feel free to join me for the next Tarot Talk live event, which is happening on Tuesday, June 13th. I usually start about 8 p.m., just like tonight, and I will be discussing birthday and anniversary readings and what I offer to people when I find out it's their birthday. Quite often when I go to events or festivals, every once in a while, someone may tell me, oh, it's, it was my birthday yesterday. And the first thing I do is say, oh, happy birthday. Come sit down. Let me do some cards for you to wish you a happy birthday. And that's become sort of a thing where I have this specific draw that I do for people for birthdays or anniversaries. And it's been very much appreciated. I used to give readings at a store in town in Guelph called the Ninth Vibration, where I would sit at a table, and as customers came through, if I was between private sessions, then I would give 1 card impression pulls for free. And anyone who said it was their birthday, they would get an additional free short reading. Just to find out what they needed for the day. And we've had some really fun and interesting readings that way. And so I do offer them out. And so I'm going to be looking at what that means and what that looks like for the people who receive that from me. So that'll be the next Tarot Talk topic discussion on June 13th. So check out my website for any information. I do post all of the upcoming events. I do post all of the blogs, entries, the lessons, there's a whole lot of information online if you're interested to even learn to do tarot readings yourself. Like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I just added a new section to the website for learning to do readings yourself. And what it is it's basically a list of links that direct you to different areas of my website that has helpful information for those who want to learn for themselves. So thank you so much again for watching from my website or from the live broadcast recording on Facebook. And I look forward to my next Tarot Talk event. I look forward to interacting with you further and more. Take good care. Hope all is well with everyone. Bye.